Thank you so much for joining this lesson. We're going to discuss the Kisumu East Mathematics Association, that is a KEMA. This is a joint examination, a well thought out paper, and we're going to discuss the section 1 of the paper 2. So it's my hope that through this discussion, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to learn something. So remember to subscribe and share so that you may invite a friend to Shifting Grades Online School. This is the best for your academics. So we get to number 1, simplify 26 out of 2 minus the cosine of 510. This should be 510 degrees, leaving your answer in the form a plus b root c, where a, b, and c are integers. Now, what you're supposed to know is that this is a surds together with trigonometry. Again, when you look at the size of this angle, this is trigonometry of angles that are greater than 360. So that takes us to trigonometry 2, to be very specific. Now, it's good we analyze this information, and I'll begin from the unit circle. With the unit circle, we shall be able to know the acute angle, which corresponds to 510. So the y-axis, the x-axis, then I have the first quadrant, the second quadrant, the third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. With these quadrants, now we can consider the first cycle, that is 360. Then if we add 90, that is 450. If we add 90, again, okay, we don't need to add 90 now because with 360 and 90, that is a 450. So what angle remains there? The angle that remains for us to get 510 is 60 degrees. So we measure 60 degrees. We measure 60 degrees like that. After measuring 60 degrees, you know that is now 510 after adding 60 degrees here. Now, the angle that we shall consider is not the angle on the vertical axis, but the angle at this point, which is now, if we are adding 60 here, it means we are remaining with 30. So the trigonometric ratios of 510 are equal to the trigonometric ratios of 30 degrees, and this is 30 degrees in the second quadrant. 30 degrees in the second quadrant corresponds to 510 degrees. Therefore, we're supposed now to know that this question is 26 out of 2 minus the cosine of 30 degrees, and 30 degrees is in the second quadrant. It's very key for you to understand the quadrant where this particular angle lies. Then after that, now we can use the quadratic identities, not quadratic, but trigonometric identities of angles that are greater than okay, special angles, that is a 30, 90, 60, and 45. We call them special angles because their trigonometric ratios can be expressed as surds. So this is an equilateral triangle of 2 units. Then we subdivide this one. We subdivide it so that now this angle was 60. Now it becomes 30. Then this was 1, it was 2, so it becomes 1, 1. So now, remember, this is 60. So now, when we're talking about cosine, we should be having this height here. So the height using Pythagoras theorem, 2 squared minus 1 squared, it becomes 3. So the square root of 3 becomes the value of this height. The square root of 3, like that. So when we are talking about cosine of 30, we should talk about adjacent length, which is root 3, out of hypotenuse, which is 2. Then the other thing that we're supposed to know is that any other trigonometric ratio can be solved from the same triangle, because with the three sides, we can deal with tan and sine for 30, and for 60, the three trigonometric ratios. Now, apart from knowing the value of the cosine of 30, we said it is a 30 which is in the second quadrant. In the first quadrant, all trigonometric ratios are positive. Here, it's only sines. Here, tangents only. Then cosines are positive in the fourth quadrant. So in the second quadrant, cosines are negative. And so substituting in this question now means 26 out of 2 minus negative root 3 over 2. It becomes negative because it is a 30 degrees angle which has been measured in the second quadrant. So we're now having 26 out of 2. This becomes a positive, out of 2. Then now to simplify, we can work with what you call the conjugate. So the conjugate now becomes 2 minus the root of 3 out of 2, conjugate of the denominator. And we also apply the same on the numerator, minus third root of 2, like that. Now we can open brackets. From the numerator, we shall have 52 minus 13, the root of 3. Yeah, because 2 is the denominator. So when you multiply by 26, the 2 cancels, 26 to 13. Then out of, this is a difference of 2 squares at the denominator. A surd and its conjugate. Kindly stay guided. A surd and its conjugate gives us a difference of 2 squares, meaning that we just need 4, which is a 2 squared, 4 minus root 3 over 2 squared. We need 4 minus root 3 over 2 squared. It becomes 3/4. So what shall this be? Yeah, I've said 3. You square it becomes 3, and 2 squared it becomes 4. So now this becomes when you pick 4 and you subtract 3/4, you subtract and you get exactly 3¼ 3¼ which can also be written as 13 out of 4. So this is being divided by 13 over 4. Everything divided by 13 out of 4. Yeah, divide by 13 out of 4. So you can divide each of the parts of the numerator by 13 over 4. And with that, we shall be having 52 divided by 13 over 4, giving us 16, minus 13 divided by 13 over 4 becomes exactly 4, the root of 3. Therefore, the most simplified answer may not be this one, but according to the format at which we're supposed to leave the final answer, then this now becomes our final answer. Of course, at a simplified level, we can have the 4 being factored out to remain with 4 minus the root of 3. But now in this case, we've been directed to have this format. So the final answer now, according to the instructions, should be 16 minus 4, the root of 3. A very good, a very concentrated question. So if you're following and you're learning something, don't forget to type on the comment section, yes, I'm learning. Number 2, we told in number 2 that a quantity P varies partly as the inverse of the square of Q and partly as the square of Q. When Q is 4, P equals to 32.5, and when Q is negative 10, P is 200.04. Determine the law connecting P and Q. This is partial variation. And with partial variation, we need first to write a statement so that now we interpret the first information here. quantity P varies partly as the inverse of the square of Q. Inverse means the reciprocal, the square of Q, and partly, so we add as the square of Q. Partly as the square of Q. Then now we can say P, we introduce an equal, we do away with the constant, with the symbol of proportionality, and we introduce an equal sign together with two constants. So the first constant can be K, K multiplies 1, then out of Q squared, plus another constant C, which should now multiply Q squared. So with this now we can then relate to come up with two equations. Q equals to 4 when P is 32.25. This is equal to K out of the square of 4, which is 16, plus C multiplied by the square of 4, which is 16. This is equation 1. For me to simplify equation 1, allow me multiply by 16 both sides, whereby I get 516. This is equal to K plus 16 by 16. This becomes 256, the value of C. That is equation 1. Can we also come up with equation 2? Yes, can also come up with equation 2. Now, the other statement says that P equals to 200.04 being equal to K out of Q squared. Q is negative 10. When you square, you get 100. Plus C multiplied by, sorry, remember there is a C here. I multiplied by 16 both sides. So C multiplied by negative 10 again squared, it becomes 100. So with this, we can multiply by 100 both sides to do away with the fraction here. So 2, 0, 0, then another 0 and 4 equals to K plus 10,000 times C. This is now equation 2. If I bring equation 1 at this point, then I can solve the two equations simultaneously. And after the simultaneous solution, I'll be able to find the value of the constants. So you can see the coefficients of K are the same. Therefore, K gets eliminated. K minus K. Then now we can talk of 10,000 minus 256, giving us 97.44 C. This is equal to 2004 minus 516. So I'm getting 19,488. To remain with C, I can divide both sides by 97.44. And this gives me exactly 2. So the value of C is 2. If the value of C is 2, then I can proceed. If that is so, then I can proceed and talk about the value of K now from any of the equations. We use this one, then we can say 516 equals to K unknown plus 256, the value of C, which is 2. We can remain with K by talking about 516 minus 256 multiplied by 2. This gives us exactly 4. So if the value of K is 4 and the value of C is 2, then why can't we write the equation connecting P and Q, whereby now we make this one a specific equation, write P equals to K, which is 4, out of Q squared plus C, which is 2, multiplied by Q again squared. So that's a very good question again. One thing that you're supposed to be very careful with is the application of words like square and square root. Some other times cube and cube roots. You're supposed to be very careful so that you write the right thing. This is partial variation. We've done a lot of questions on this platform, Shifting Grades Online School. So kindly remember to just continue following so that you may keep learning and stay guided, stay well advised. Remember also you can join our mentorship programs here. We are hosting the scholar candidates for KCSE and also the KCSE. So you can join us for you to stay guided. Term 2 schedule, it will cut across term 3. So all 30 scholar candidates from every 7:30 to 9 p.m. via Google Meet, very interactive forum. Every Wednesday, KCSE Mathematics. Every Friday, KCSE Integrated Science. Then every Sunday, we have the form for candidates, the KCSE candidates mathematics. So please join our sessions. Our number is already pinned on the wall, so you can reach out through this number so that you get enrolled to our programs. You cannot regret joining Shifting Grades Online School. This is the best of the best. So join us and be among the best. Remember also for the holidays, we have August holiday program 2026, whereby we are inviting NEC examiners to address our learners. So you can enroll to this rich program again, whereby NEC examiners are people that have been marking the national level exam. These people know what is set in which paper, how it is set, and how marking happens. These are the people that will give you everything that you need for you to succeed in your examination. So reach out again through the same number so that you may get enrolled to our serious programs, so that you may have one-on-one interaction, though virtually, yet impactful, yet fruitful. So please do not be left out. Do not be left out. The number to use so that you may enroll is already on the board. So you're most welcome. We can get back to the paper now. Number 3. Sorry for that interruption. Number 3. Yeah, number 3. The question says that we find the value of n in the equation logarithm 2 base 2 of 18 minus 5n minus the logarithm 2 base 2 of 3n minus 4 minus 2 equals to 0. There are many laws of logarithms that we're supposed to introduce for us to navigate through a question like this. One, when you see a constant like this, you consider the base that has been used. Then you apply the rule that says the logarithm of a number to the same base equals to 1, meaning that we can introduce the logarithm of 2 to base 2 in this question, but allow me first take the 2 to the right hand side to become positive. So I'll be having the log to base 2 of 18 minus 5n. Then I subtract the logarithm to base 2 of 3n minus 4. This is equal to 2, which is positive. I now write the logarithm of 2 to base 2, like that. The logarithm of 2 to base 2. With that, the value of 2 is not affected because this is the base of a number to the same base. Yeah, the log of a number to the same base. Then at this point now, we can talk about the logarithm to base 2 of 18 minus 5n out of 3n minus 4. This is equal to the logarithm to base 2 of 4. I want to explain the laws that I have used at that particular step. Remember the second law that says the logarithm of a minus the log of b. As long as the base is the same, then you can have the log of a divided by b. That way, that is what I've applied on the left hand side. So I've divided this term together with this. Then on the right hand side, n, the log of a is the same as the log of a power n. So n can become a power at that particular point. So that is why 2 became a power, and this other 2 now is becoming squared, making it 4. So at this point now we can drop the logarithms, we equate the two sides and we solve. So 18 minus 5n out of 3n minus 4 equals to 4. Cross multiplication will give us 18 minus 5n being the same as, 4 will open the bracket here. 4 will multiply everything here after the cross multiplication. So 4 multiplies the 3n to 12n, and also 4 multiplies -4 to give us exactly, -16. So at this point, when we start grouping terms together, 12n can combine with -5, and -5 will become positive on the right. So 12 plus 5, 17n. The -16 becomes positive on the left. 18 plus 16, 34. How do you remain with the value of n? You divide both sides by 17. This is 2. So the value of n equals to 2. The value of n is exactly 2. We can continue working out number 4 now. We'll read the question together, then we solve it together. Have you ever referred a friend to shifting grades online school? If not yet, kindly take an initiative and invite even one. Tell them about our programs. Let them know what we are doing on this platform. And through that, we shall So number 4 now. The grid provided below shows triangle PQR with vertices at P 6, 6, then Q 12, 12, and R 18, 0. You can see the triangle already plotted. Now we are told further that triangle PQR is transformed to P prime, Q prime, R prime through transformation represented by a matrix M, which is equal to a third, 0, 0, a third, followed by transformation matrix N, 1, 0 to 1. Find a single matrix T that maps triangle PQR onto P double prime, Q double prime, R double prime. Then again, find the coordinates of and hence draw it. So one thing that you're supposed to know, this is called successive transformations. With successive transformations, if a matrix M is carried out followed by N, then it's usually written as, it is the M that comes next. So it means this was carried out first, M is performed first, then N. That is what it means. Then a single matrix of transformation can be found by simply taking the product of the two matrices and in that order, the way they've been written. So we start with N, 1, 0, 2, 1. Then M, a third, 0, 0, a third. This means that this was performed first, followed by this. Then with this now, we can talk about the product so that we may get a single matrix that can represent this particular successive transformation. Therefore, we can multiply the two matrices, row times column. So 1 times a third, then 0 times 0. It becomes a third. The next shall be the same row by the next column. 1 times 0, then 0 times a third. Everything becomes a 0. The other side, we have 2 times a third, then 1 times 0. So it becomes 2 thirds. The same row by the last column, 2 by 0 and 1 multiplied by a third. 2 by 0, then 1 by a third. We shall get a third. So this is now matrix T, which is a single matrix that represents the successive transformation. So you should know that when we say AB, It means B was performed first, followed by A. That way. So there are concepts that you're supposed to know. Then we are told to find the coordinates of triangle. These ends draw on the same axis. So now when we pick this matrix, and we multiply by P, Q, R, whereby P is 6, 6, 12, 12, 6, 6, 12, 12, 18, 0. We will get now the image. Direct, we'll go to P double prime, Q double prime, R double prime, like that. So we can multiply row times column. This row by the first column, we get the first element here. So this shall be what? A third times 6, 0 times 6. A third by 6 should be 2. Then we add 0. Then the next by the next row, the same by next row. So a third by 12, we get 4. 0 by 12, we get 0. So this becomes 4. A third times 18, we get 6. 0 times 0. So this is 6. The next row by the same columns. So 2/3 by 6. 2/3 by 6, then a third by 6. See 2/3 by 6 plus a third by 6. We are getting exactly 6. The same row by next column. So 2/3 by 12 plus a third by another 12. This is exactly 12. Then at R now, at R, we shall have 2/3 by 18. 2/3 by 18 plus a third by 0. So this will give us exactly 12. So now we can talk about stating the coordinates. We have not yet stated the coordinates. So P double prime shall be 2, 6. Q double prime shall be 4, 12. Then R double prime shall be 6, 12. So those are the coordinates. And now we can advance to plot. 2, 6. Start with 2, 6. That is the coordinate. We proceed to 4, 12. So 4, 12. Then lastly, we have 6, 12. 6, 12. So this is P double prime, Q double prime, R double prime. So we have them properly plotted. So we can join to come up with our triangles, So this is the triangle after the transformation, successive transformations. This is a very good question. Thank you for following. Please remember to subscribe, remember to share so that you may invite a friend. Number 5, solve the equation 8x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals to 0 using completing square method. For us to use completing square method, we're supposed to know the right steps followed. And in the right steps followed shall be, we can remain with 8x squared plus 2x, and instead of 3, it becomes positive on the right because it's a negative already. So we make it positive on the right hand side. Divide by 8 through, because the coefficient of x squared is supposed to be made 1. So this now shall then be x squared plus 2 out of 8 becomes a quarter x. Then this is 3 over 8. The other thing is that we add a constant to both sides. How is this constant being added? The constant should be that when b is divided by 2, then squared. it is equal to the constant. So to make the left-hand side a perfect square, then we have to pick b, divide by 2, then we square. So I have a quarter, a quarter divided by 2 becomes 1/8. Then when we square, we get 1/64. And on the other side, we add the same constant. So the constant added to make the left-hand side a perfect square should be such that the constant c equals to b/2 squared. Now at this point, allow me factorize the left-hand side. To factorize a difference of two, to factorize a perfect square, we factorize the first term, which is x. It becomes x. The sign that follows is a positive. Then square root of this part is 1/8 squared. Now, this has been factorized. This is equal to, we add plus 3/8 plus 1/64. So we are getting 25 out of 64. All right? 25 out of 64. So the next thing is to find square root for both sides. Finding square root for both sides means we remain with x plus 1/8 because it was squared equals to plus or minus. What about square root of d? What about the square root of the right-hand side? It becomes 5/8. To remain with x, now we deal with the positive square root. We subtract 1/8, or x equals to the negative square root minus 1/8. So when we subtract these, we are getting exactly half. Yeah, 5/8 minus 1/8, exactly half, or -5/8 minus 1/8, -3/4. So these are the two factors or the two roots of the equation provided in this case. The same answers can be written as 0.5 and -0.75 respectively. As long as they are terminating decimals, they can be worked out. Can you check now number 6? Now the following table shows part of a monthly income tax rates for a certain year. You can see the monthly income tax rates, and you can also see the amount of taxes, the amount of tax rates. Yeah. In a certain month, an employee paid a net tax of 3,280.10 after getting a tax relief of 1248. Calculate the employee's taxable income that month. What you need to know is that net tax is usually given by the gross tax minus relief. So how can we know the gross tax due to these employees' taxable income? How do we know that? We simply have to say the gross tax shall be given by net tax plus the relief, which is 1248. So when we perform this addition, 3280, we add 1248, I'm getting exactly 4528.10. This is the gross tax. Now, with gross tax, we know that we're supposed to tax until we tax an unknown amount until we can get a tax which is equivalent to 4528.10. So now we say from the first bracket, how much tax do we get? 12 to 80 at a rate of 10% from the first bracket. How much tax is this? 12 to 80 by 10%, we get 1228. In the second amount of tax there, we subtract from the previous. So we pick the second limit, which is 22, 814. We subtract 12 to 80. I'm getting 10, 534. 10, 534. This now is being taxed at the rate of 15%. So by 15%, this now becomes 1580.10. Remember now the tax is supposed to be added, the side of tax. We should add until we get the gross tax that we have here. Therefore, the two brackets are already not giving us enough tax, meaning that there is some amount of tax which is supposed to be added at this point so that the total tax becomes 4528.10. So which tax is missing now? Because we are remaining with only one bracket. Which tax is missing for us to add up and get 4528.1? So we talk about 4528.1 minus the two taxes that we already have. 1228 plus 1580.1. You get exactly 1720. So a tax of 1720 now should be added. So that total tax adds up to 4528. With this now, we can say there is a missing value here, a non-taxable income, which is being taxed at 20% to give us 1720. So to remain with X, we multiply both sides by 100/20. This becomes 8600 Kenya shillings. So when we tax 8600 at the rate of 20%, we will get 1720, such that now adding up all the taxes, we'll get 4528. That's a very good question. So the taxable income is just the amounts that have been taxed. The first 12 to 80, the second 10, 534, and the last 8600. When you tax all these at the respective taxes, you'll get 4528.1. So we can add them up. And this gives us 31,414. 31,414 Kenya shillings. This is a very good question. We call it a back taxation, or rather reverse taxation. A very good question. Can we check 7? Yeah, can check 7. Why not? In number 7, given that A equals to 6.3, B equals to 15.8, C equals to 14.2, and D equals to 0.0173, find the percentage error in AB out of CD. AB out of CD. Percentage error requires a procedural approach. And the first thing I want us to understand is that every measurement that has been recorded as what we call accuracy at which it has been recorded. For example, 1 decimal place. So accuracy in the first case, the accuracy of A is 0.1, meaning that absolute error for the recording of A is equal to absolute error in the recording of a measurement is given by the accuracy over 2. So 1 decimal place, 0.1 is the accuracy over 2. We get 0.05. That's the absolute error in the recording of A, meaning that the values of A shall range up to, we can add the value here to get 6.35, or we subtract the same value, 6.25. So this is the range of A. Then we check out B. B has been recorded to the same accuracy. We have not even started working out the errors. I'm just checking the range of the recording of the values. We have B, which has been recorded to the same accuracy, and the accuracy is a 1 dp, meaning that absolute error for A, 0.05. So it will range up to 15.85 from 15.75. Then C will range up to the same accuracy, so the same absolute error, from 14.15. Then finally, we can talk about D. Can talk about D. Is a serious one. D has been recorded to a very unique accuracy of 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 decimal places. So 0.001 divided by 2 gets 0.005. And therefore, the upper limit shall be 0.01735 when you add, and when you subtract 0.01725 when you subtract the same error. Therefore, we have now the limits within which all the variables have been recorded. To find percentage error means we can find, this is a division. So we can find the working quotient, then we go to minimum quotient, then we go to maximum quotient. What is the working quotient, or rather actual? Actual quotient shall be A times B, 6.3, times B, 15.8. The values just the way they were recorded out of CD. So this is 14.2 by 0.0173. What are we getting here? Let me work out. 6.3 times 10.8 out of 14.2 multiplied by 0.0173. This is exactly 405.1942. Allow me use an accuracy of 4 dp for that case. Then what about maximum? Maximum quotient will be given by the maximum numerator. So maximum numerator for AB, I use the maximum values, which is 6.35 times 15.85. Then for me to get maximum quotient, I was supposed to divide by the minimum divisor possible. So minimum divisor for C shall be 14.15, and for D shall be 0.01725. What we get here is the maximum, 6.35 multiplied by 15.85 divided by 14.15 multiplied by 0.01725. This is exactly 412.3419 to the same accuracy of 4 dp. Then the minimum quotient. Minimum quotient requires the minimum numerator. So AB minimum. AB minimum means 6.25 multiplied by B also minimum. B minimum is 15.75 out of, for you to get minimum quotient, then you divide with the highest or the greatest divisor possible. Yeah, greatest divisor possible. C maximum 14.25 and D maximum 0.01735. 35. Let's check that well. 35. 6.25 multiplied by 15.75 divided by 14.25 times 0.01735. This is exactly 398.1496. Yeah, 96. So you can see the accuracies. Just check the accuracies. Just check the accuracies like that. So we have maximum, minimum, and actual. Can we talk about absolute error in the competitions? Absolute error in the computations. Remember, there is absolute error in the recording of the values. And now we're talking about absolute error in the computation. So absolute error is given by maximum minus minimum divided by 2. Maximum minus minimum. Minimum is 398.1496, and we divide this by 2. So I'm picking 412.3419 minus 398.1496 out of 2. This is a 7.09615. So we have the absolute error. Can we go to the relative error of this? The relative error shall be, for the relative error, we talk about absolute error. I hope you are listening to what I'm quoting. Divide by actual, actual quotient, So 405.1942. Then for us to get percentage error, we need the relative error times 100. The relative error times 100. So what do we get here? Let me check. 405.1942. Then I multiply by 100. I'm getting 1.7513%. That is to an accuracy of 4 dp. Yeah, 4 dp. Accuracy of 4 dp. A very good question on errors and approximations. On errors and approximations. Can check out our program here as we get back and roll through our number there. Let me check out something and I get back for the lesson. Point A, 2, -1, 4, B, 6, -3, 5, and P, 8, -4, 5.5, lie on a straight line. In other words, they are collinear. Determine the ratio in which P divides AB. The ratio in which P divides AB. So you will allow me kindly, to first sketch the information. Let me just sketch this information. Let me just sketch of AB. See, so A is here with its coordinates. B is somewhere with its coordinates. P is somewhere with its coordinates, meaning that P is an external divider. But now one thing that we're supposed to know here, is that there are some proportions into which B has divided AP, and I want us to work with that. This can be M, and this can be N. Now, we can say that B has divided AP in the ratio M is to N. Then according to the ratio theorem, we shall say, when we pick the ratio M out of the total proportions, both unknown, and we multiply by, because we are picking M, we multiply by the coordinates of P, and that is 8, -4, 5.5. Then we pick ratio N out of the total ratios, total proportions. And after picking N, we multiply by A. It's 2, -1, 4. We should get the coordinates of B. 6, -3, 5, like that. So that is what you're supposed to know according to the ratio theorem. Now with this I think we can proceed and to work out the values of m. We may just use the y component and the x component. For example, from the x component, 8 the value of m out of m plus n. When we add 2 the value of n out of m plus n, we should get exactly 6. This is over 1. So remember, we are having one equation already. So can we simplify the equation first? Yes, we can simplify the equation by talking about the LCM, which is m plus n. So LCM divided by the first denominator, it cancels out. We remain with 8m plus LCM divided by the second denominator. They simplify, we remain with 2n equals to LCM divided by 1, it remains. So 6 multiplies now m, then also n. So I've multiplied 6 by the LCM like that. The LCM is now done away with. So we can group terms and say that, and say that 8m plus 2n equals to 6m plus 6n. With this understanding now, we can come up with ratios. To come up with ratios means we can have 8 minus 6, I'm grouping terms together now. 8 minus 6, that is 2m. 6 minus 2, that is a 4n. With this, we can remain with a n alone. I want to take you slow. Then we divide by 4 both sides. Then again, we can remain with 2 over 4, and we divide by m through. So nm, look at that, nm, or n over m, equals to half. N over m equals to half. If n over m equals to half, then we can say m is to n can be a ratio equal to 2:1, like that. Or n is to m equals to 1:2. Yeah. So with this now, can we say that these are 2 proportions now instead of m? 2 proportions, then n corresponds with 1 proportion. Yes, that is it. So if that is so, then we can come up now with the ratio that we are talking about. The ratio in which P divides AB. From A to P, we have a total of 3 proportions. Then we move backwards to B, 1 proportion. So it's an external divisor. So the ratio should be containing a negative like that. So the ratio is 3:1. That is the ratio in which P divides AB, an external division. That is a very good question. Very, very good question. A very good question. Number 9, ladies and gentlemen, number 9 on loci. The length AB of a farm is 6 meters. Using a scale, 1 represents 10,000. And on the upper side of AB, locate and shed a region C such that the area of triangle ACB is greater than 60,000 square meters, and the angle ACB equals to 90 degrees. We can interpret the scale first and say, for area of a triangle to be 60,000, it's given by half, a base of 600, and a known height to give us 60,000. What is this height? That is a 60,000 divided by 300. I'm getting exactly 200 meters. So height should be 200 meters. So first we can interpret the length first. We can interpret the scale, that is. We are already saying that 1 centimeter should represent what? 10,000. You know, this is 1 centimeter to 10,000 centimeters. So 10,000 centimeters converted to meters, it becomes 100 meters. This is 10,000 centimeters. So we make them meters. So we have 1 centimeter for 100 meters, meaning that this will be 6 centimeters because each centimeter represents 100 meter. Then this will be 2 centimeters because each centimeter represents 100. Now, at that point, ladies and gentlemen, at that point, allow me now start the construction work. We start by a straight line. Now, this straight line is going to be A. Then after measuring 6, let me do that. After measuring 6 centimeters, we get our B. So this is 6 centimeters like that. Yeah, 6 centimeters like that. At this point now, whereby we're talking about 6 centimeters, then it means we're supposed to talk about now the height. You know, there is a height, which is a point C. Point C should be 2 centimeters away. 2 centimeters away means with perpendicular lines at point A, and also B, we're supposed to measure 2 centimeters along them, 2 centimeters. Then we also measure from B 2 centimeters like that. Then when you do a straight line along that, anywhere along that line can be point C. Yeah, anywhere along that point can be point C. And remember, we talked about strictly greater than. That means the height should either be 2 or above, but not equal to 2. Therefore, for this line, we use a dotted one because of strictly greater than. If it was all equal to, it would have been a complete line. So because of that, we strictly use a dotted line. Yeah, we strictly use a dotted line like that. At this point now, we can now start talking about the constant angle loci, whereby we need a circle somewhere whereby we can project an angle of 90. For us to have an angle of 90, at the circle, we should be having, for us to have an angle of 90, we're supposed to be having 180 at the center. And for us to have 180 at the center, then it means we should be having that center as the middle here. So it is a semicircle, in other words, because it is on a semicircle where 90 is projected, because automatically we have 180 at the center. So with 180 there, we can do a circle, a semicircle. Yeah, we can do a semicircle. We do a semicircle carefully. A semicircle radius is supposed to be 3. The radius is supposed to be 3 because we start with the mid of AB. So exactly 3. The mid of AB. So exactly 3 centimeters. Exactly 3 centimeters. Yeah. Exactly 3 centimeters. So 3 centimeters will be passing here. 3 centimeters. Can measure 3 centimeters along many dimensions. 3 centimeters will pass there. 3 centimeters. Also pass here. Just making my path very clear. 3 centimeters will also pass there. At this point, 3 centimeters will pass here. Yeah, like that. Therefore, I can now do my circle. My semicircle can now be constructed. My circle can be constructed like that. Yes. So I have my semicircle, a very smooth semicircle. And it's supposed to be or equal to. So a complete circle like that, not dotted in this case. Therefore, now the area C, whereby the region C, where locate region C and also shade it. And we were told on the upper side of AB, so that is what we've done. So this is the region that meets the two conditions. Area of ABC to be greater than 60,000 and the angle to be equal to 90 or less than that, or less than 90 or greater than 90. Yeah. So to be greater than 90, it means on the lower side, because when you project an angle on the upper side of this circle, it will be smaller than 90. It will be smaller than 90, but on the lower side, it is greater than 90. So that is the common region that we exactly need, the common that we need. So now that is our region C. Yeah, region C. Let me label it. That's our region C. Our region C properly illustrated. This is a good question, ladies and gentlemen. Now, allow me proceed to number 10. The figure below shows a graph of temperature against time when a certain solid was cooled. Temperature against time, time in minutes. Find the average rate of change at t equals to 4. So t equals to 4, we check where that meets the line. T equals to 4, where it meets the curve. Then we do a tangent. We call it instantaneous rate of change. So we draw a tangent at such a point. We draw a tangent at such a point. A tangent is a line that cuts a curve without passing through the curve. So we can draw it. Let me make it more perfect. Can make it more perfect. Yes, like that. So we have the tangent. So it is this tangent now. It is this tangent which is going to help us. So we find its gradient so that we may get the rate of change. The rate of change. Therefore, some points that lie with, we have 4, 1, strictly on the curve. Then here we have a 5, 0.4. 5, 0.4 on the vertical. So gradient means change in y. So 0.4 minus 1 out of 5 minus 4. What is 0.4 minus 1? You're getting negative 0.6. Then out of 1, it remains 0.6. So the rate of change now, it is a decrease. The temperature is decreasing at a rate of 0.6. The temperature is in which units? Should be degrees Celsius. So the rate can be degrees Celsius per minute. Degrees Celsius per minute. A very good question. So we call it instantaneous rate of change. Some other times you'll be told within a certain range of values, like when t equals to 4 and also t equals to 2, whereby in such a case you connect the 2 points, 4 and 2. Then you work out again the slope of the line connecting the 2 points. But here it's only at a point. When it is at a given point, you just draw a tangent along that point. A very good question again. Number 11, ladies and gentlemen. The figure below shows a curve with radius 2 units located in the first quadrant. Find its equation in the form given there. Radius 2 units. Now, center is the other thing to be interpreted. The center is a 3, 3. Center, 3, 3. So now equation of a circle is given by x minus a. A is the x coordinate of the center, squared, plus y minus b. B is the y coordinate of the center, equals to radius squared. So when we pick x minus 3, because the center x value is 3, squared, plus y minus 3 squared equals to radius, which is 2 units squared, like that. This, first of all, becomes 4. Then we can now expand this. When you expand, this one becomes x squared minus 6x plus 9. Then on the y, this is y squared minus 6y plus 9. So arranging terms to have the equation like this, can start with x squared, then the y squared takes its place. Then the part that has x, we have negative 6x. The part that has y, negative 6y. Then the constants now follow. 9 plus 9, then we subtract 4. The 4 which is on the right now becomes negative. So this will be 14 equals to 0. So now we have the equation of the curve, and in the format that the examiner needs the equation to be in. So that's again a very great question. Very, very good question. Can we check number 12, ladies and gentlemen? In number 12, we're being told to solve for y in the equation 2x squared, 2 cosine of y squared plus cosine of y minus 1. Then for the range of the values of y between 0 and 180. One thing that you're supposed to do is to divide. First, we can divide the values of, we can divide by 2 first. Let me divide by 2 so that I have, really? Is it very important? Is it very important? No, we don't have to divide by 2 even. Yes, so let me say we can let the cosine of y to be a different unknown like t. So that we have 2t squared, because cosine of y has been squared there, plus y, plus t now, instead of cosine of y, t minus 1 equals to 0. We solve this one quadratically. Solving quadratically means product negative 2, sum 1. 2 factors, you multiply to give us 2 by negative 1. Then when you add, you get exactly positive 1. These 2 factors can be maybe 2 and negative 1. Yeah, 2 and negative 1. So we can say now 2t squared, then plus 2t and minus t. I'm replacing t with 2 and negative 1. Minus 1 equals to 0. Factoring out 2t, t plus 1. Then we factor out negative 1, so that remains t plus 1. This is equal to 0. Inside the brackets, we have t plus 1. Outside the brackets, we have 2t minus 1 equals to 0. Equals to 0. With this, we can say t equals to negative 1, or that is from the first factor, 2t equals to negative 1, meaning that t equals to half. So we have 2 values. It is the cosine of y that had been let to be t. Therefore, the cos of y can be negative 1, or the cosine of y can be half. If this is so, then y shall be shift cosine of -1, whereby we get exactly 180, or shift cosine of half, where we get exactly 60. Now, with 60, which is an acute angle, if we get the other value of y, it's going to be, where are cosines positive? Cosines are positive. Okay, we have all students take coffee. So in the third quadrant, acute angle of 60 becomes 300, and that is beyond our values. Therefore, 60 degrees and exactly 180 degrees becomes our final answer. It just becomes our final answer. Yeah, so that's a very good question on trigonometric equations. We can now check number 13. Can now check number 13. Yeah. Number 13, expand 4 plus x over 2 power 6 up to the term with x power 3. We're supposed to know that we will have the powers of x increasing while those of 4 decreasing. So we can first list our coefficients. Coefficients of power 6, even from your 4-figure tables, shall be 1, 6, 15, then 20, then 15 again, then 6, and 1, like that. So at the first, we start with 4 being raised to power 6 and x over 2 raised to power 0. Then in the subsequent terms, the powers of 4 decrease to 5, while those of x over 2 increase now to 1. 4 becomes power 4 as x over 2 becomes power 2. Then 4 takes power 3 as x over 2 takes also power 3. So x has also become power 3. So that is the last term in our expansion. We are not doing the whole expansion. We're increasing the values of power x up to power 3. So now we can expand. Can I do 4 power 6? It's a big value, 4096. 4096. X over 2 power 0, that one becomes 1. Then 6 multiplied by 4 power 5. 4 power 5 is 1024, so times 6. But there is a 2 there. So we divide by 2. So we get 3072, and this is x, plus 4 power 4, which is 256 times 15. Then we divide by, when we square this, it becomes 4. So we're having 960, and x is now squared, plus 4 power 3, it becomes 64, times 20. Then we divide by x cubed and also 2 cubed, which is now 8. So we get 160, and x is raised to power 3. So now we have expanded fully. After the expansion, we get to part B, whereby we thought to use the expansion to estimate the value of 13 over 2 power 6, correct to 1 dp. So we're supposed to say the expansion for a plus x over 2 equals to 13 over 2. Can we remain with x over 2 being equal to 13 over 2, and we subtract 4? We subtract 4. I'm getting 2.5 or 2.5. How do we remain with x? I multiply by 2 both sides. So x becomes 5. So I'm going to use 5 in the place of x. So this is 4096 plus 3072 into 5 plus 960 into 5 squared plus 160 into 5 power 3. That is a 5. So we key into the calculator 4296 We add 3072 into 5. We add 960 into 5 squared. We add 160 into 5 power 3. So we're getting exactly, this is a whole number, 63, 456. But because we've been told to one decimal place, we just introduce a 0.0 at that point. You should be very careful with instructions. So you're not supposed to lose such a question for being disobedient. Yeah. So that's how we work out such a simple question on binomial expansions. Then we check number 14, right? Yeah. Then check number 14. Now in number 14, we're being told, given that the integral from 4 to 1, or from 1 to 4, yeah, nx minus 12 with respect to x equals to 1.5. Find the value of n. When we start integrating this, x will take, because in the first case, x is power 1, so it takes up power 2 now, and the 2 divides everything. Then minus 12. Now we introduce x to power 1, like that. Initially, there is x power 0. That's why it's not showing up. So it becomes x, like that, plus an arbitrary constant, and we're integrating from 4 to 1. After this definite integral, we're supposed to get 1.5. Yeah, we're supposed to get 1.5. Now with this, we can substitute 4 first. Substitute 4. So when 4 is substituted, in the place of x, half times n times 4 squared. You know, 4 squared is 16, so that becomes 8n minus 12 into 4. Not 12 by 4 is 48, right? So we have 48 plus c. Then we subtract the same, but we substitute 1 in this case. So half times n times 1 squared just becomes half n minus 12 by 1. This is just 12 plus c. Should get 1.5. So we can now group terms. 8 minus half to become 7.5 n. Then negative 48. Negative 48 minus 12. No, minus a negative 12, sorry. Minus 48 minus a negative 12 will give us negative 36. Then c minus c, that one cancels. This is equal to 1.5. You see, at this point, we can pick that 6 and make it positive on the right-hand side. Then we add 1.5. That's 7.5. Then here, we have 7.5 n. So to remain with n, we have to pick that 7.5 and divide it by 7.5. I'm getting the value of n as exactly 5. Exactly 5. So this, again, a very powerful question. Very, very powerful. And it's my hope that you followed through. You should be able to perform. You should be in a position to perform a definite integral the way we've done. And actually, in a definite integral, we don't even have to introduce the c because it eventually cancels out when you are subtracting the two parts. So with that now, can we check number 15 now together? Another good question. A committee of 3 prefects was chosen at random from a group of 5 boys and 6 girls. Find the probability that the committee consisted of more boys than girls. More boys than girls. So allow me first do what you call a probability tree diagram. Then I might use a bigger space than what has been provided. In the first selection, we might get a boy or a girl. Picking a boy, because we're picking 3 prefects. Boys are 5, so, and girls are 6. So total is 11. Picking a boy is 5 over 11, and a girl 6 over 11. Then after picking a boy, and we continue with the second picking, we might still pick a boy or a girl. So picking a boy for the second time goes down to 4, but now out of 10, because you can't pick one person twice. So it's picking without replacement. Then for a girl, 6/10. What about on this case whereby you can say we can pick a boy or still a girl? When we had picked a girl, picking a girl once again goes down to 5/10, and boys 5/10. We are feeding the probabilities very carefully. Then finally, we can have the last bracket here, but you can still pick a boy or a girl. Picking a boy for the third time now goes to 3/9, meaning that this one is 6/9. Then when you picked a girl, you can pick a boy or a girl. Now picking a girl after you had picked a girl here, it goes down to 5/9, meaning that boys 4/9. After picking a boy, you can pick a boy again or a girl. Picking a boy once again, the probability is 5/10. Now it becomes 4/9, meaning that for girls, it's 5/9. And finally here, after picking a girl, you can pick a boy or a girl once again. Now picking a girl, the probability should be 4/9, and a boy 5/9, because the probability within that bracket should be 1. Probability within that bracket should be 1. So allow me now sample out all the possibilities. To sample out possibilities means boy, boy, boy. Then boy, boy, girl. Then boy, girl, boy. Then boy, girl, girl. Boy, girl, girl. Then after that, we can proceed to girl, boy, boy. Girl, boy, girl. I hope you see how I'm following through. Then girl, girl, boy. Girl, girl, boy. Then girl, girl, girl. Girl, 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 like that. So now these are all possibilities of what can be chosen. The question is probability that the committee of prefects consisted of more boys than girls. So we consider the cases where the boys are the majority, like here, not empty boys, not pure boys. We want at least to have boys and girls, but it is the boys that are more, or this, or these. Those are the cases whereby B's are 2, but a G is 1. B's are 2, but the G's is 1, regardless of the order. So now we want probability BBG. So BBG means 5/11, 4/10, and a girl 6/9. Or the mean addition in probability, BGB. So B 5/11, or BGB 6/10, or BGB 4/9, or finally GBB 6/11, DB 5/10, then 4/9. So we can perform this one. We can do it once and get to our answer. So allow me to say 5/11 multiplied by 4/10 multiplied by 6/9. Then we add 5/11 multiplied by 6/10 multiplied by 4/9, or addition 6/11 multiplied by 5/10 multiplied by 4/9. It's my hope that from that side, you're also working out. So I see 4/11 from this point. It's my hope that you're also computing and able to compare. But the values that I'm getting and also the values, or with the values that you are getting at that side. So the question is just amazing. There are people who will confuse and say that the first case here, 3 boys, we are having more boys than girls. No, these are pure boys. We don't have more boys than girls there. There is no comparison there. It's purely boys. So that's why I'm working with the 3 cases now after that. It's a good question. Very, very good one. Excellent question for that matter. 16, eh? And the question has also been presented accurately and very well. So kindly make sure you follow up with the explanations very well so that at least you know what we are doing in this. Number 16 now, with there. The figure below is a tetrahedron, ABCV. You can see where V is. The base is equilateral triangle of sides 10. So 10, 10, 10, all right? And the slantites, all of them are equal to 14. All of them are equal to 14. All right. So what do they need now? We find the angle between the plane ABV, this one, ABV, that one, sloping face, and the base, ABC. So allow me partitions. You know, we're supposed to have a line passing through that, and also another line from the middle here. Yeah, like that. So what you should know is that now we need this angle. Angle between 2 planes means the angle through the middle of one plane to the edge where the 2 planes are meeting, and also the line through the other plane to the same edge. So where the 2 lines meet now, I mean a line through ABV, the way we've drawn, and also another line through the base until they meet at the edge, at the common edge, which is AB. So now this is the angle that we need. We can call it this point X. So angle VXC. VXC is the angle that we need. Now to work out angle VXC, we can first identify the values. You see here, it's through 90 there. So this is 5 and 10. Can we get XC? Length XC should be 10 squared minus 5 squared because I've divided into 2. So this shall be 10 squared minus 5 squared, then the square root. So the square root of 75, which is exactly 8.66. Allow me work with that. Then V, the length Vx shall be the length Vx. This shall be, you know, this is 14. And now this also became 5 after subdividing. This is 5. So now we can work again with 14 squared minus 5 squared, the square root. So 14 squared minus 5 squared. Then we take square root 171, 13.08. 13.08 like that. So now, considering VXC, let me extract it. Considering VXC, we have all the sides. This is 14. This is 13.08, or rather, it is the square. It is the square root of 171. It is the square root of 171. Actually, we can work with the square root of 171. And this one is the square root of 75. Yeah, square root of 75, like that. So now we can find the angle at this point. That's our angle VXC, that point. So we start with 14 squared according to the cosine rule equals to, we start with the one side, let's say C squared. So the root of 171 squared plus the root of 75 also squared minus 2 root 171 times root 75, the cosine of the angle at x, the angle that we don't know. So if we group terms together, we'll be having 14 squared minus 171 minus 75, and I'll get negative 50. Then here I'm having, we also start with a negative. This is 2. The root of 171. Then I also multiply by, again, the root of 75. This is going to give me 226.495 the cosine of x. Can I remain with cosine of x by dividing through? So I will start with negative 50, divide by this value. So I'll get 0.22076. If I have to get x, then I work with the cos inverse. So cos inverse, so shift cos, 77.25. That is the value of the angle. This is a very good question again on three-dimensional geometry. So thank you for following up with our programs. Be also reminded that you can join our programs and get enriched one-on-one via Google Meet. You can build your confidence, you can build your knowledge, you can build your substance in mathematics by simply enrolling to our one-on-one classes. Remember, on August, we have the best program ever. Yeah, the best program ever. So kindly join us and get the best from the group of examiners. Very soon I'll be sharing the lineup of the examiners that I'll be bringing on board so that they may take you through the main subjects ahead of your national examinations. Inform your friends, inform also the KCSE candidates so that we all keep updated. So thank you. See you next time.